Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. Today, we've got Elliot from FUD TV. We're going to be chatting about some of our top altcoin picks, if you will, some projects that we're passionate about that we think have legs and are building something really cool. So Elliot, welcome to the channel, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me. Just really enjoyed. We just wrapped an episode on my channel, so I'm really excited about the collaboration, and we're going to talk about something that I know all you guys are super excited about, which is, of course, those juicy, pumpalicious altcoins.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So, I think out there in the world today, the crypto world specifically, people talk about their project. It's their pride and joy. They have a few that they really love and they believe are, 1,000x, a million X, whatever crazy prices that they talk about. But I think coming from a tech background, personally, I look mostly at what the project is building and what the demand is for what they're building. And then from there, do they need a token for that project? So I think we came up with a small list, but a few projects that we wanted to highlight here. So you want to go with the first one? We'll call Chainlink the first one. Make sense?
I think that's the overlap between our list is Chainlink,
Cool.
and you can go ahead and lay out your reasons, and I'll lay out mine right after.
Great. That works for me. So I think personally, I'm a dApp developer. I do a lot of work with Ethereum. That would be, I would say, 85-90% of the dApp development work I do is with Ethereum. And one of the biggest issues that I've had is when you're trying to build any applications that need external data whatsoever, you've got to rely on now, most of the time, a very centralized and dangerous proposition, right? You've got to either hit a public API to get information, or you've got to aggregate multiple public APIs and then feed it through an adapter and then push it into your contract, right? So if you're creating a contract that pays people out, let's just say you're gambling on what the temperature is going to be tomorrow max. Stupid game, but people might want it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to pull that information so the contract knows what the weather is. Got to figure out what the source of truth is. So Chainlink has said, all right, we're going to take this, we're going to build out a solution, infrastructure to help you bring trusted data sources from outside into your contracts. And they're doing it in such a way that it's sort of like an open data market, right? You can aggregate multiple sources or you can pull data from one, but all these external data providers are sort of competing for the ability to service your contract. So it's a way that you can get secure, trusted data sources into your contract. There's a huge demand for that. So that's the number one reason why I'm passionate about it.
I think you did a great job summing it up in terms that people can understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like understanding that there is a pragmatic goal here when you're creating, smart contracts. You want to achieve certain functions, and
Yep.
to do that, you need data. You need certain variables. You need certain data points, and in order to do it in a decentralized way, Chainlink provides a very valued resource there. That's from a technical standpoint.
Yep.
Now, the reason why I like Chainlink has nothing to do with that, really. And that's because what happens in crypto is sometimes not logical. I used to believe purely in the fundamentals. Now, if
Yep.
you guys are not familiar with my channel, I actually develop, like Hashoshi, I'm working on a gaming project.
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk about it too much because I want the first impression that people have of the project to be the game. I want people to play it. I want people to come and use our product because of the game. That's it.
Yep.
And that will be what I think of as kind of a new thing, but at the same time, that's what I'm excited about. Now, I take that mindset and I throw it away when I look at altcoin investments, because that has not been the reason why altcoins pump.
Agreed.
Case in point, IOTA. IOTA, their entire network went down for multiple weeks. And while it was down, and this was in the past 60 days, this happened.
Yeah.
And during the time where IOTA's network was completely down, shut down by a single central counterparty, the thing pumped 20%. So at one day, I think it was one of the top 5
during the crisis.
During the crisis, right? So, so take your logical brain. Sometimes you got to throw it away. And the thing that I look to more than anything is the ever elusive, hard to describe and quantify hype cycle, right?
Yeah, there's always one.
You see it, and a lot of coins. There's been a few coins though that over the last 18 months, I'll just say, have been consistently at the tip of the spear of the hype cycle. And Chainlink is one of them. They were extraordinarily hyped during the 2017 era. And of the 2017 coins, they're one of the coins that's really stuck around. They've come to occupy and almost completely sort of take over the smart contract Oracle space, which,
Yeah.
by the way, is not a unique functionality, right? Anyone can build this functionality, right? It's
Yeah.
not, they do not own this, right? But in the
Yeah.
mind of the public, they are like the Ethereum of this. And so they've kind of taken over this space. And because of that, the hype behind them is tremendous, right? You're seeing so much hype go into Chainlink, and it's just considered this blue chip coin now, where
Yeah.
I see it every day. If the market's pumping, they're pumping harder. If the market's dumping, they're dumping harder. And that's because they've pumped so hard. But I'm expecting that to continue, right? If we inevitably get this bull market that we're all looking forward to, I'm expecting Chainlink to be one of the highest gainers.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think, you know, funny story though, Chainlink used to be a project that like humans are biased, right? So like we get annoyed by something and then we're just like, I hate it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say I ever hated Chainlink, but when I started this channel, I used to get like just inundated with Chainlink bot comments.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not going to look at Chainlink because these comments just really bother me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I just came across it one day. I read the paper and I got forced into using it for real. And I'm like, wow, this is actually of quality.
Yep.
And so I think it's interesting, your point about hype, because, you know, there are a bunch of things we can talk about. Like Matic was one that was just hype like crazy, right? You know, it goes in cycles. But I think every once in a while you find these projects that get dismissed because of, you know, they get dismissed and then they get hyped and then they actually deliver on some of the hype that's coming from them. And so then I think that starts to feed the hype cycle more, because it's like they announce new partnerships, they announce the launch of a new product, they get, you know, some good news in the market, and then that just feeds the hype and it keeps going. It's like you're fueling the rocket.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's so to me, hype is just the number one lens I'm looking at things from. And then secondarily, it's always great if there's good tech behind it, right?
Yep.
And I think that we're having by comparison to 2017, the coins that are getting a lot of hype have tremendous teams, tremendous funding behind them as well, right? When you're looking at, you know, another coin on my list that I'm going to throw out here, not a shocker, Tezos, right?
Yep.
They have nearly unlimited resources, you know? They did an insanely big ICO, one of the biggest. And, you know, they have a tremendous team, resources, funding. They're on Coinbase. They're very compliant, and they clearly have you know, big alliances in the industry. And so there's a solid foundation there, certainly more solid than you could argue for most of the ICO coins of 2017. But then there's also the hype. There's also the hype too. And so that's why I think like we're at an interesting thing where we can interesting moment in the history of crypto where we can see tech and hype kind of intersect, because Chainlink, arguably one of the best teams. Sergey is a very smart guy. The team's been at it for a very long time. Google gave them the nod. Coinbase gave them the nod. We're seeing similar things happen with Tezos. Is Tezos a coin that you like?
I do. And I will tell you one main reason why. I think that Tezos finally, well, they kind of, I wouldn't even say finally, but they beat Ethereum to the punch in making a true like staking ecosystem user friendly enough, and to get it into Coinbase, a place where millions of people buy and sell and now stake crypto. And I think it was their protocol is actually fairly complicated, like the process of baking and how you allocate resources, and then how the protocol reconciles transactions. Like it's actually kind of complicated behind the scenes, but they do such a good job of making the process for the end user simple, and to give the user experience that tender love and care that I think all crypto projects need to be doing these days. So that's why I think it started to get attention, because it was one of the easiest staking environments to get involved in, where you could actually earn something in return.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's the user experience, because nobody's baking their Tezzies on their own, right?
True.
Nobody's throwing them in the oven here at home. Everyone's going on Coinbase or you know, or a big exchange, and they're just baking those Tezzies. That's how they call them, staking and Tezos. If you guys are new here,
Staking and bacon.
Staking and bacon, and so to be able to make it so that you just are a one-click experience to start staking and earning residual interest, that's a user experience. Unfortunately, for most projects in the crypto space, they're operating on the sort of layer 1 protocol layer, and there's just the geniuses in their team are there. There's maybe the product guys, the sort of UX people are, maybe they're a little bit more greedy. Maybe they're a little bit more slow to move on new tech, but they just, for some reason, are just by and large not here in crypto. You know, they're just not here. I personally, my team we're not a layer 1 team. We're a UX, a user experience product team, right? So we're leaving the layer 1 genius up to others, and we're just focusing on delivering consumer-facing product experiences. So for us, UI, everything, font choice, colors, all these things are very important to us.
Yeah, it matters.
It matters because people are used to it. And so, Tezos has that. They've completed the loop. Super easy to get a hold of them, to start staking them, and they have the hype. So I'm excited for their future.
Definitely. And not to belabor our move to the next pick, but that point is great, because back when the internet and the last big protocol revolution happened, we weren't at the point now where people had been so accustomed to this user experience. Like, the user experience was whatever you got back then. It was like whatever was available. And now a good user experience is like a dime a dozen now. I think there are so many apps and so many things to occupy your attention that now, if you're building a protocol, you kind of have to do both at the same time. Like, you can't afford to build a protocol and say, we'll do UX later, because no one's going to use it.
And I guess from my perspective, as this is a competency of our team, you know, it's not like we sit around and have meetings about UX, right? We don't need to. You don't need to. This stuff has been refined. It's a science. The best companies in the world all share you don't need to know what Facebook knows to deliver a Facebook-like experience, or Instagram or whatever. You simply need to go be observing what they're doing and track the changes that they've made in their UX over the last 18 months. Use your brain, say, I wonder why they did that. Let me think. And in the end, you'll come out with a bunch of best practices if you really compare all the sort of leading user experiences out there. You don't need to know this stuff. You don't need to have all the data. Obviously, they're making the decisions based on data. You can benefit from them by just kind of seeing their output and trying to analyze why they made their changes. UX is a base necessity. If it's not there, people aren't going to use it. It's like the statistic that people, if the Google search, if you click off of Google to a page and it doesn't load within like 3 seconds, something like 60% of people will, whatever the metric is, in a few seconds, if the page doesn't load, people are
gone,
closing it, gone. We've become accustomed to this, and the same thing for like you said, tender loving care on the UX. And I think that's a great way to put it, because we are little babies, and that's how we use the internet, like little babies, little impulsive children. And we need TLC in order to get us to coddle us to do the things that they want us to do.
I mean, I'm the same way. I get pissed off when stuff's not loading, even if it's my own code. I know why it's not fast, or, if I haven't optimized it yet, but I still get annoyed. Like, I feel that in the back of my head, like this should be faster, So
you're your own best. If it's something that's catching your eye, if it's something that's making you feel a certain type of way,
gotta get fixed.
That's it. Fix it for yourself. But yeah, so I agree with you. UX, it's coming along, and hopefully now, and we're in 2020, right? We're having all kinds of dystopian futures manifest themselves. We need good UX. It's basics, get your UX together. So I think you're absolutely right. And yeah, I mean, for me, what I see a lack of, which bothers me, is that we still don't see good dApps, right? We still see such dApps that are just falling flat. They don't have the potential to gain users unless you just have a bunch of people that randomly become obsessed with crypto, which was the case in 2017, and it very well might be the case in the future. But what I wanted to see more of since 2017 was people not trying to change the mainstream users into crypto users, but trying to build crypto products for mainstream lifestyles, for mainstream users. And can you share, do you see any projects doing that? Because I think before we get that, all of it is just a hype cycle, right?
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the projects that are doing that get criticized because they're too much like traditional systems. And I totally understand that. Coinbase is one. A lot of people really hate Coinbase. You either hate Coinbase or you really love it. There's very little in between. And I don't love all of Coinbase's policies, but they are consistently among the best in terms of bringing crypto to mainstream users and making it easy enough for them to do it. DApp browser, easy. Staking, easy. Buying and selling, easy. Are their fees annoying? Absolutely. Are their wait times annoying? Definitely. But those are the things they do really well. And wallets, started stemming out of the DeFi world, like Argent Wallet, like Zengo. You can criticize their security model. You might say, well, it's not really, you don't really own your stuff, or, whatever. You can say whatever you want, but in reality, they're making the user experience better, and they will learn. All of these protocols and systems and apps will learn.
How long do you see the trajectory between now and when people are actually using DeFi in a meaningful way? I mean, I know it's meaningful because there's hundreds of millions of dollars in liquidity, which is, you could try to break down that statement to those data points. But it seems like over the last few months, there's been a couple crucial failures in the DeFi system. Over the last really 30 days, 60 days, there have been some really tremendous shortcomings of the DeFi infrastructure. How did those change your mind potentially about DeFi? Because I know everyone was hailing DeFi, the best thing ever, whatever. I was slow moving on DeFi. I didn't put a lot of my money in DeFi. And now I'm not happy about it, but I'm thinking, well, maybe DeFi is a much further target to hit.
Well, I think that DeFi, I think the ideas and the projects, based on the current limitations of Solidity and the protocols we have, I think that DeFi is like, it's on the bleeding edge of what you can do with Solidity right now, to be honest. And similar to the DAO hack and similar to CryptoKitties crushing the Ethereum blockchain, all these new specs and things you try and do on Ethereum, you don't really have the luxury of a soft beta test. You throw it out there and then it breaks and you suffer the consequences and you learn from it and fix it. So every time I see these exploits, I obviously don't want people to lose money, but that's how these things get better. So within the next year, we're going to have a whole new generation of DeFi products that have learned from those mistakes. So, that's my thought.
It's a high stakes business. It's when Instagram has a feature that doesn't perform well, you have a couple of people that are annoyed. They push a patch. So it's done.
It's sorted.
It's in the path. Gets sorted.
Not that easy.
When DeFi has a glitch, you could lose tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in liquidity. People and irreversibly so, right? And so we saw a couple incidents that, if you're a DeFi fan, just like Hashoshi is saying, there's a bright future, but these mistakes, you have to understand, you're part of you're a guinea pig, right? You're a guinea pig right now if you're putting money in DeFi, because there's a bunch of black holes that we just don't even know exist, especially as systems intersect with each other, right? This isn't just one loop, right? This is many loops that are now connecting. You have lending and borrowing and staking. You have all these different mechanisms and insurance and cross claims. And now you're seeing essentially just when things get super complex, the attack vector surface, right? It becomes very hard to protect against exploits because there's just so many possibilities.
Absolutely.
But with that in mind, I don't know if you play games at all, but I'm very bullish on gaming because I see gaming as one of the only areas of the entire economy where we're actually taking normal user behavior and layering blockchain around it, right? Where gamers already buy digital wardrobes and buy digital characters and buy quality of life upgrades, as well as currency. They buy coins, they buy tokens
all the
games.
time. Look at Fortnite. People spent a fortune on, nonsense in that game. And because they're passionate about it, because it's cool and because it allows you to interact with people in a different way. So I don't see why we couldn't do that the same way with crypto assets where you have afterwards a secondary market like you don't have in something like Fortnite.
Well, the reason is quite simple. There's a huge divide in the gaming world, and the AAA studios that are making all of the big bucks, there's no incentive for them to go into blockchain right now. There's no incentive, because if Fortnite had people able to trade their skins, then you would have the people who first bought the skin go use it, be the cool, essentially like having the fresh drop of sneakers or something. You're the first person wearing the cool outfit, and then you play around in it for a bit, it's not hot news anymore. You resell it.
You ditch it.
What does
Yeah.
that mean? All the next wave of people aren't buying from Epic Games. They're buying from peer-to-peer.
Others. Yeah.
And so that money is significantly, their revenues is threatened. So why would a company like Fortnite implement a system like that? There's no incentive. No incentive.
It's got to be aligned.
So the problem is that from outside of crypto, I don't see it happening. I don't see AAA game studios going down this route, not for a very long time. What it has to happen is we have to create a top tier gaming experience from within the crypto community. And that's what I'm hoping to do with my project. And I hope to see more out there. I think more is more, you know, like we want more people on this wavelength. We don't want to be the only crypto game in the world, you know?
Well, I think that brings us naturally to another one of the picks that's been on my mind for a while, and that would be Engine and what they're doing with the ERC 1155 standard, which I think it's the gold standard for tokenization that's out there today. So Engine's a great place, in my opinion, to be looking for innovations in terms of tokenized assets that could be used for gaming, could be used for social, social interaction online. What are your thoughts on Engine, and are there any altcoin project picks that you might have that are sort of adjacent to gaming?
Yeah, obviously we have a coin that's going to be in all of our games. So I don't want to talk about it too much. Like I said, I want the first impression to be the game. And then if you guys want to get assets within the game, you'll figure out how to get the coins or do whatever you want to do, right?
When it launches, I'll live stream some playthrough.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. We're going to start having some play tests here in the coming weeks. So I'm super excited for that. But more importantly, Engine's a great resource, right? It's a necessary resource. There's some limitations in that, you need really a second layer solution in order to run your NFT assets in a real-time game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technical hangups, and Ethereum, when we started our project, was just not really an option. Now things have gotten better, especially with ETH 2.0 and all these things that are right on the horizon. Still an emerging landscape.
Yep.
But regardless, Engine's probably the only coin. I would have said Loom, but I've become less bullish on Loom over time. But yeah, Engine's got a great future. What they need though is they need a great studio to be developing on them. Okay. And that's a really tricky business, right? Because I promise you, I spend 14-hour days working in game engine. There's a lot that goes into these games. It's the combination of about 1,000 different art forms. And it's just so many people are needed to accomplish goals. Whereas I just don't see those teams in crypto yet. I see my team, I know what we're accomplishing. I'm excited for us to try to show that these things are possible and to elevate the bar.
Yeah.
But I don't see a rush, right? It's because until the next Fortnite is on Engine doesn't have the value. That said, I believe they'll get another cycle. They've gotten a few hype cycles so far, and they're already accessible on Samsung phones, which is a huge UX. Like we were going back to UX, it makes the user experience very much so fluid. But again, I'm expecting that from a fundamental standpoint, I need to see the studios coming and building on Engine, because what they've showed as far as their demo games and stuff like that, it's not interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's bare bones, because I think you need it's almost like a large scale, it's a good old boys club, the gaming industry, because there are a lot of the true traditional game studios that have acquired all the small ones, and you have very few really small studios that are making quality games.
Yeah, it's the knowledge base is concentrated. Unlike almost any other industry I've seen, the knowledge base is so concentrated, right? Where if you want someone with these skill sets, 999 out of 1,000 of them is already working for one of the big studios, right? It's not 1%. It's not 0.1. It's like literally less than 0.1% that you're going to get of real talent. There's just not talented contractors out there. So I'm very excited, because interactive media is the future. We know it, right? What's happening right now? Everyone's in quarantine. What do they need? They need a sense of personal progression. They need a sense of social connection. They need a sense of activity. They need a sense of movement. They want to be entertained as well. It fulfills our human needs in a way that's future-proof and in a way that's growing and getting better. However, like you said, it's a good old boys club right now. So I see a big disruptive opportunity here in gaming, especially putting it together with crypto. So I'm super excited for the future of gaming, though, like, just to put a bow on this, I don't think that there's a gaming token yet that satisfies what I want to see, which is show me the game it's going to be in. I want to see a hit game. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Right on, man. Well, fingers crossed that your game's the hit game. Right?
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thanks, man. Yeah. Agreed. And I'll hopefully come back on for an update when I do release a game.
Definitely. And I think that's a great segue, because anyone who's watching this who has not already been headed over to FUD TV, head over there. I'll link it in the description below. Make sure you're following, subscribed, watching for that game when it launches. I'll talk about it. I'm sure it'll be all over the place. So awesome. I'm stoked for it.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do it again soon. And obviously stay safe, stay healthy, and keep crushing that code, man.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.